Hello, welcome. I'm Rose Riley and I'm the gardener here at the Amy Cogswell Garden of the Webb Dean Stevens Museum. Today we're going to talk about tending the late summer and early autumn garden. And what are the different things you do is sort of the last gardening that you're going to do going into the late fall. These hostas bloom in late summer, and a week ago they were wonderfully full of fragrant white blooms. Today they're an eyesore. So what do you do with them so that you still have some substance here in your garden, but you've gotten rid of the disarray? We'll begin by simply cutting these long flowering stems off. Make sure you cut well into the plant as you do this. As leaves wither, you don't want cut off stems showing. Let's take a couple more of these down. Now that's only part of the job. You still have these leaves which are browned and tattered. But underneath them are some new leaves that will grow up during the remaining months, well, weeks, I guess, of summer and fall. So you will do something called dead leafing. If the leaf is really withered, you can just pull it out. But generally you need to just snip with your hand clippers, taking out the really badly browned ones and leaving the other ones behind. Now that's a tedious job and best done by a 10-year-old who'd like to earn some money. But when you've done it, you begin to have this kind of an effect. Now this hosta here, I cut back the stems and I dead leafed for the most part this part of the plant. And again, if you look down, you'll see some healthy, very green, unmarred leaves. And they will grow up during the remaining weeks and make an attractive mound of foliage. So that's a good way to keep your hostas in place, to keep their shape and substance in place, but not have them look tattered and brown. Annuals hold the garden, carry the garden in color throughout the late summer months and well into the fall. Now, all through July and August, we've been cutting these back and fertilizing them. These, by the way, are angelonia with some petunias interplanted. It's time to cut them back one more time. And what you want to do is look for the sort of tattered flowers, stems that obviously have a lot of seeds set, and take those off. Assuming we don't have a really early cold snap, these will throw new growth and bloom again. Meanwhile, there's enough bloom on them to add color to the garden right now. Now, petunias, at this time of year, may cut back to nothing more than stems. There was really no growth left on these petunias, but I don't pull them out because sometimes with the rain and the gentle sunshine of late summer and early autumn, they actually will throw new growth and bloom again. If they don't, I can pull them out later. There are a number of perennials which will continue to bloom if you continue to deadhead them. The one that we all know the most about, perhaps, is garden phlox. Now these phlox have seed heads, or flower heads, they're now seed heads, that have gone by. And I will just cut them like that. But because we have been deadheading them all through the season, we actually still have some nice growth, some nice blooming on them. People sometimes say, well, how do I know what is a seed head and what is a flower head? And the best way really is to take a look here, and you can compare. On this one there are little, and you can see the little flower heads there. They're all tightly curled. Those are the flower buds. So we leave those for a while and they will open and bloom. Another perennial that can be kept in bloom by deadheading is Veronica. And this lovely tall purple plant began blooming back in June, and with only occasional periods of resting has continued to bloom. When you see the seeds begin to form, and again you can see them if you look on here, then cut back into the stalk. Sometimes you'll have some fresh growth and that'll tell you how far back to cut. But you're not going to do any harm. I'm not going to cut this one because we have a bee living on it. And he's happy. We have a lot of pollinators here in the Cogswell garden. This is pretty much an organic garden. We really use no pesticides, herbicides, insecticides in it. So we are rewarded with many, many pollinators. Come on and see one critter here. I don't know if this guy's a pollinator or not, but he's beautiful. We just found this spider here this morning, and we don't know what his name is. But isn't he cool? Little treasures of the garden. So finally, just a couple of other things that we're going to cut back today. One of them are our late blooming lilies. Now you may know that lilies make food for their bulbs only through the leaves that you see on their single stem. So you need to be really careful about how you cut them back. Right now, we are simply going to cut above the leaf that is under the very last bloom stem. So here was with a stem that it bloomed from. We're going to go right down and cut underneath it. That makes the plant look quite tidy, and it can continue to photosynthesize and put nourishment into the bulb for the rest of the season. I'll get these out of the way. And one very final thing, and again, we try very hard to welcome pollinators in this garden and birds. Sometimes we welcome rabbits and groundhogs. I'm not sure welcome's the right word, but those are our other visitors. But what I wanted to talk about here were the very end of the cone flowers, the echinacea. Now, I don't think these are very pretty anymore. And the sort of aesthetic part of my gardener self wants to cut them back. But there's another part that says finches and other critters really love the seeds. So leave them for a little bit longer. When we put the garden to bed in the late fall, the end of October, at that point we will cut them to the ground. But for now, they're a source of food and nourishment. So thank you for visiting our late summer, early autumn garden. I hope we were able to give you some information that you may not have had before, but if nothing else, I hope you were able to enjoy the plants and the critters in our garden. Please come. We are on Main Street in Old Weathersfield, and please come on and see our garden. It is open dawn to dusk every day.